Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today I'm talking about Red Dead Redemption 2. This is actually my first experience playing a Rockstar game, and it probably would have taken me a lot longer to get to one of these if not for my friends. Basically, we walked into a GameStop, I had a $25 gift card, and I said, recommend me something. Eventually, it was a unanimous vote on Red Dead Redemption 2 for just 20 bones. I think the reason that I took a little convincing to actually play a Rockstar game is subconsciously I kind of built up this image of these types of games, whether it's through the media or what I hear in the gaming sphere. I mean, of course, everybody has heard of Red Dead Redemption 2 if you're at all in the gaming news cycle. I remember it being a huge game when it came out, and it was up for Game of the Year. It only lost to God of War Ragnarok, if I'm not mistaken. However, when I think of these open world games, such as Grand Theft Auto, I immediately would think of a criminal who is murdering people and stealing cars, and you're just trying to commit all these crimes in order to have a ton of money so that you can, I don't know, have an even better car and all the best clothes. Now, obviously, this is an unfair assessment, and I do realize that, especially now having played Red Dead Redemption 2. And don't get me wrong, you still are a criminal committing crimes, but I like these types of stories when you are doing it for an important reason, or there is some sort of redemption arc involved. I think I'm more okay with being the guy who commits crimes if it feels justified to me, rather than just, I want to have a ton of money. And I'm not sure how the Grand Theft Auto series is, but that was probably the main thing that was holding me back from actually jumping into the Red Dead Redemption games. The other thing is the game length. I'm typically the type of gamer who likes to play games between 10 and 20 hours. Anything longer than that can start feeling like quite the commitment. And according to HowLongToBeat.com, this game, at least just the main story, takes about 50 and a half hours. That's just the main story. With sides, you're looking at 84 and a half hours, and apparently to complete this game, 193 hours. And after playing and rolling the credits on this game, I completely believe that. Like, this game is so large. To call it robust would be an understatement. This is the closest anybody is probably going to get in living out their Westworld fantasies, at least within the next 30 years, I would surmise. This game very easily could be somebody's second life, at least for the good part of a year. Another reason that I was hesitant about playing Red Dead Redemption 2 is that I never played through the first one, and so I felt like I needed to play that one first. But the second one is actually a prequel. Now, I'm told that I would have appreciated playing 2 more because I would have recognized a lot more characters from the first game. But in story-wise, you absolutely do not need to play the first one before playing this one. It does things like setting up the main characters in the first one and showing their backstory, but if anything, it just makes me more excited to eventually hop into Red Dead Redemption 1. And despite these things, my friends' recommendations were quite unanimous and very enthusiastic. After some grumbling about the game length to them, I popped it in and started experiencing the story of a man named Arthur Morgan. Arthur Morgan is kind of like the gunslinger of this gang, and it's not just a gang of old men. There's also women and a child in it as well, and I'm not sure if I would necessarily consider it a gang per se, but they're definitely outlaws living outside the main civilization. The whole idea of the Red Dead Redemption series is the Wild Wild West is coming to an end, and industrialization has begun. And so there's not really a place for these Wild West people anymore. This gang is led by a charismatic man named Dutch Vanderland, and Arthur Morgan is one of his right-hand mans. Basically, whenever there is a train that needs to be robbed, or a bank that needs to be robbed, or a rival gang member that needs to be killed, you're the one who goes out and accomplishes these things. And for the majority of the game, you do that without question. And often when I play this game, I find two parts of me at battle. The part of me that says, this is absurd, you are basically just shooting up a whole town, anybody with a gun, you are shooting in the face. And the other part of me is battling like, whoa, this is really cool, I'm shooting up a town while this electric guitar is playing this Western twang. Like, don't get me wrong, this gang is often not worried about morals. Dutch has this capability to always convince his gang that this is the right thing that needs to be done, and if we just do this one last score, if we just do this one last job, then we will finally be able to live in peace. And with a 50-hour game, the story becomes a lot more convoluted than that, but that is the basic premise at the start. I think another thing that deters me about these types of games is that you have a lot of systems that need to be managed. You need to eat. You need to wash your horse. You need to make sure you get enough sleep. And on top of just taking care of your own playable character, you have this whole gang that you need to take care of. You need to go out and hunt and make sure that they are well stocked with medicine and food and ammo. You need to donate a lot of your own money in order to upgrade the camp. You need to maintain your gun, otherwise it will start performing not as well. And all of that micromanaging seems superfluous to me, or at least it did when I was first learning about the game's mechanics and systems. I soon found out that these needs weren't so much as needs, but things that you could do to overall improve your gameplay and your character and just help you feel more invested in this gigantic, complex universe that you are plopped in. If you wanted to, you really could just ignore the gang, don't worry about them, just go straight from mission to mission. You could just let all your hair grow out until you're this hairy man and not worry about sleep, and really you could play through the game just fine. But it is actually more beneficial for you to maintain these cores, like your health core, your Deadeye core, because these help you live longer in the firefights, and this helps you slow down time with your Deadeye ability so you can tag more enemies in slow motion. And so you don't need to do these things, but they certainly do help if you keep up with them. And I think over my time playing this game, I came to really appreciate these systems. And it really doesn't take that long to go home and go to sleep, or it doesn't take that long to hunt an animal and stock up the camp with supplies. I think I came to appreciate the gang and all of the individual members themselves. I came to learn them by name and what their mannerisms are, and I came to enjoy sitting around the campfire with them and singing songs with them and having banter. I actually ended up enjoying quality time that I spent with them going fishing or robbing a house, and I grieved when some of these members were lost, either by leaving the gang or by dying. I will say, when managing all these systems, one of the main ones that I lacked in was the hunting, because hunting can be a big part of this game. A lot of your upgrades, like your carrying capacity, comes from crafting animal pelts. A lot of your meat is going to come from the animals that you hunt and bring back on your horse. And that aspect of the game didn't seem too interesting to me, especially if it wasn't attached to some sort of side mission with a scripted story to tell. Now, I will say there are these like super hunts that are scattered around, and you'll get better rewards for them. You can hunt down really big, scary bears or fish this giant special fish if you wanted to get those extra rewards. And there is certainly a lot running under the hood of this game. Probably a lot of things that I didn't even notice. There's a very significant day-night cycle, and the NPCs actually react how real people would in day or at night. And you're probably thinking at this point, well, lots of games do that, but no, not to this level. Like, the level of detail that they have in just your horse alone is insane, because you need to make sure that your horse is clean and you can start building up this bond with your horse, and you'll just notice little things like your horse is just gonna poop. I didn't notice this, but I just heard it. Apparently, like when if you're riding a male horse and it goes into the water, then its testicles will rise. And I understand that there is a lot of emphasis put into your horse because your horse is like the secondary character. That's your main mean of transportation. So of course, the systems with your horse are going to be robust. You are going to be building up this relationship with them. You can name them, you can customize them, and as you are building up your bond with them, your character will talk to them in different ways as you're comforting them, and you learn new maneuvers with your horse. You can whistle and they'll approach you from further away, and there is absolutely nothing that will make you feel worse than if you collide into an object and you go flying off your horse and your horse falls down to the ground, because that sad horse whinny whenever you crash or if something hurts your horse, it will make you feel terrible. In fact, the controls for this game take a while to get used to, especially if you haven't played in a long time and you forgot the controls. And so I admit that I've punched my horse instead of getting on my horse more often than I like to admit, and I don't think I've ever felt more guilty playing this game than when I accidentally hurt my horse. There is a special cinematic camera view that you can toggle on when you're riding your horse and you're riding to a destination. Sometimes I actually opted to do this instead of fast traveling just because I wanted to take in the impressive environment around me. And this cinematic view is actually really cool, where if you're just riding your horse, you just have to hold the X button down, but then the camera will start doing all these different shots, like drone shots in the air or a shot like right by you to the side. And so you're not so much worried about manipulating the camera, you're just appreciating the awesome views as you are riding your horse. I will say this cinematic view is not perfect, and you still can run into obstacles when you are in this cinematic view, and it's happened a lot where I'm just appreciating the environment and there is somebody riding a horse going the opposite way and I accidentally run into them because I didn't see them because they weren't in the shot of the camera. And then we get into a gunfight and I have to kill this innocent victim, and now my horse is mad at me because it fell on the ground. And so that's just something that you need to be wary of if you're utilizing this feature. I didn't really feel that it was necessary to do a lot of min-maxing. This isn't like an RPG where you're going to be leveling up in the traditional sense. Most of the time you are going to be leveling up by utilizing these skills. So if you're running a lot, you're going to build up your energy. If you're in combat a lot, you can build up your health. It's not like I ever felt the need to grind to build up these stats. They just kind of happened organically. And whenever I was in a firefight, I didn't find myself wishing like, oh man, I wish I could run for a longer amount of time, or I wish I had more health, because this game isn't what I would call difficult. It's pretty standard, get undercover, shoot the bad guys, move forward a little bit, get undercover, shoot the bad guys. It's a lot more exciting than that cinematically, but like mechanically, that's basically what it is. Even the gun management, like the gun management and customization is as in-depth as the horse customization is, where you can pretty much alter anything about your gun, and you can order these from these catalogs and you can upgrade them with parts, and if you wanted to, you could design a dream rifle. I did that for a double-barreled shotgun, and that actually ended up being the main shotgun that I used for the majority of the game. But if I was out of ammo for my shotgun, I didn't feel like I was suffering difficulty-wise by just picking up a gun from one of the bad guys. I mean, no matter what gun you use, if you shoot a guy in the head, they're going to be dead no matter what. But I honestly don't think that difficulty is really the main point of this game. I feel like the main point of this game is to tell a really impactful story and to absolutely immerse you into the Western world in the early 1900s. So the main missions that are going to progress the main story forward the most are in yellow, and these are the things that you need to do in order to advance the chapter. There are 6 chapters, and then there are 2 epilogue chapters. And so you're not going to be able to beat the game without completing these yellow missions. There are also these side missions that are color-coded in white, and I'm normally not the type of person to do side missions, side quests when they aren't necessary to progressing the story, and I don't need them in order to make my character feel strong enough to play through the game. But I will say these side missions are actually really entertaining, and they're really well thought out. Most of them aren't just lame fetch quests. Hey, I need bear pelts to live through the winter. Go hunt 3 bears. It's not like that. This is where more of the wackier stuff happens and more of the character development happens with the side characters that are in your gang. And I actually found the majority of these side missions to be more entertaining than the main missions in terms of humor. One thing that I learned, however, is when you advance to certain chapters, some of these side missions become unavailable if you didn't complete them when they did show up on your map. There are these gates that once you pass through, you can no longer go back and complete those side missions. And so there were many side missions that I told myself I was going to come back to, but then I ended up advancing the main story too much, and so I wasn't able to go back and finish those side missions. And it's not like they even really give you a warning, probably because the point of this game is the immersion effect, but I guess I wish I had learned earlier that, hey, if you advance the story far enough, if you advance to the next chapter, then you won't be able to go back. And there's no indication like, hey, if you do this main mission, you will be advancing to chapter 2. It doesn't explicitly tell you that, and so you just kind of learn by experiencing it. And I find myself wishing that I had spent a lot more time doing the side stuff rather than just beelining for the main missions as much as I did. And if that is not a high enough praise for this game, I don't know what is, because I rarely have that thought about a long game such as this. And there is a lot more to do than just missions, right? You can play poker or dominoes with other people, and you can gamble and go out and drink, and you can go fishing and hunting and rob some houses and steal horses. And all of these things have rewards in some capacity, but sometimes it's just about like hanging out in the world. However, the main missions are definitely where most of the excitement happens. This is where you're running away from the law and a speeding train is coming and you just have to beat that speeding train, or you have to hide in the cornfields as the bad guys are looking for you, or you're robbing a train and then the mission goes bad and suddenly you're surrounded by the cops. In the majority of games that I play, these really exciting, monumentous moments happen near the end of the game, but with Red Dead Redemption 2, I felt like the exciting, monumentous moments happened throughout the game. Like, for many of the times when I'm playing through the main story, it feels like life-ending events are happening. And because of the previous gang members that I mentioned, how much I've built a relationship with them, how well-rounded they are, I find myself caring a lot more about their fate than I normally would with NPCs. I did find myself becoming more empathetic to the main character, Arthur Morgan, as I played through the game. He would occasionally write in his little journal and narrate it out loud, and he has these visions, dreams of this buck in the woods, and it's all slow motion, and it just pulls you in, and you can really feel like you are experiencing what Arthur Morgan is experiencing, and you really get to see this whole character arc with him that I have come to appreciate now that I have beaten the game. And I like how, as I play through this game and I get more and more character development out of Arthur Morgan, I feel like the story itself goes more and more off the rails to the point where it becomes rather unpredictable. And because of the really impressive immersion that this game has to offer, I find myself actually getting pulled more and more into wanting to be out with nature. When I see Arthur Morgan riding his horse along a river and there's animals all over and trees and you get the beautiful sun shining through the leaves, I find myself longing for that in real life. I want to be out there in nature. I want to be doing what he is doing. Honestly, I've never experienced more immersion in a game than this. Its systems just feel so robust and real that I can't help but feel pulled into it. And I think that's one of the main reasons that I do wish that I spent more time playing this game, is because I felt like I didn't really appreciate it on my initial playthrough. I want to just jump in, and I do just want to hang out in this world because it is so beautiful. That being said, I feel like I did play through this game pretty fast. It took me 45 hours to play through the main story. That includes the 6 chapters and the 2 epilogues. And it's funny because I do feel kind of guilty about it, but 45 hours is a long time for me to be playing a single video game. If you can't tell by now, I am going to give this game a 5 out of 5, and my friends were right. This is an amazing game, and I'm really glad that they recommended it to me, so I guess they can continue recommending games to me. Hopefully more amazing ones that have slipped under my radar due to my silly biases. Well, folks, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye!
It's fun being with you, mister. Can I hold you a second, mister? Can I?
Okay, just quickly.
That felt good. It's nice to be held sometimes.